Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and common sense point of view. Well, Kentucky is facing a major ordeal in its driver's license renewal process. Andy Beshear says he wants to keep the process as it is, while some state Republican legislators say, no, let's go back to letting people do this at their county. So at the same time as this is going on, Andy Beshear is taking time away from being governor to work on a side hustle. We're going to look at the side hustle, and then we're going to look at this driver's license renewal disaster and why Andy Beshear is trying to double down and who's trying to change it and what looks like it's going to happen. First of all, let's look at this side hustle. Usually when somebody is the governor of a state, they do that as a full-time job. So you may be wondering, is Kentucky actually having a governor who's working full-time for you as governor?
Good guess, but actually no.
That is correct. Andy Beshear is not actually working as governor full-time. He's got a side job as well. His side job is he is running a podcast. And just to be honest, the reason for that is because he wants to run for president and thinks that that will help him. Well, he's having a few problems with this. First of all, let's look at what he's done. Just this week, Andy Beshear has signed a deal with SiriusXM Radio to put this podcast on their platform. Now, this really raises three big questions that Kentuckians deserve to have answered. Question number one, he signed a deal. Wouldn't it be illegal for him to be using his office as governor to get this job where he is personally financially profiting? Isn't that illegal? I think we really ought to have some people from the Attorney General's office looking into that. Number two, he's selling ads now. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because this is a way, if he's selling ads on his podcast, it is a way for these major Democratic donors to give him huge amounts of money, but at the same time, they can skirt around all of the election finance laws. Why? They're not financing the campaign. They're paying him directly for advertising space. Sounds kind of screwy and crooked to me. Number three, why would anybody pay for ads on this? And yet we are seeing some nationwide companies are buying ad times. Here's the reason why it doesn't make any sense at all, because Andy Beshear's podcast has zero market value. I'll prove that to you. Here's a listing of his podcast for the last 6 weeks. You'll see one episode has 1,000 views. Another one, 618 people watched. Another one, 696 people. 803 people, 572, and as little as 399. I averaged that up for the 6 weeks of that podcast as an average viewership of 681 people. If you have a podcast that has an average viewership of 681 people per episode, there is no reason for nationwide companies to be paying him all this money to advertise on that podcast. Once again, this sounds really screwy, a way that he can circumvent election finance laws, and I think what he's doing actually is illegal. While Andy Beshear is running a side hustle to make money through this little podcast, he is doubling down at the same time on the Kentucky's driver's license renewal centralized system, and it's an absolute disaster. That's right, it's a disaster big time. Kentucky used to have where you could renew your driver's license right there in your county. But under Andy Beshear's watch, they've now changed that where you can't do that anymore. There are only 38 regional offices across the entire state, and everybody has to go to one of these 38 offices across Kentucky. Some people have to drive for hours. It takes weeks, sometimes months, to get an appointment, which is sometimes changed. And even if you live in a county where there is one of these regional offices, there's now huge backups and lines because there's all these other people from surrounding counties. Members of the state legislature are trying to propose laws to go back to where each of the circuit county clerks would be able to renew driver's licenses. But Andy Beshear has already voiced opposition to do that. He likes the centralized idea. That's really one of the differences between the Democrat and a Republican view of government. The Democrats are all the time pushing for this centralization of power. By the Republicans are saying, no, we want to decentralize things and let the government mostly be done done on the local level. Those are the ones that are most answerable to we the people. It really follows a biblical principle. If you read in the book of Acts, the New Testament, in Acts chapter number 14, they established elders in every single church, and each congregation locally had its own control. Be a good way to run the government as well, with local control. We see some of the Kentucky legislators fighting against this. This is what they said about it. Kentucky State Representative Bill Wesley said, "The current system has been an absolute disaster from day one." Representative Josh Callaway said, "It's creating needless hardships for families and overwhelming even the counties with regional centers." We also see this from members of the Kentucky State Senate. Senator Lindsey Tishner, who said, "It's unfortunate that Governor Beshear is in opposition of a most obvious solution to fix the licensing mess. The complications with this regional mess have caused extreme inconveniences to so many across the state." And I'm seeing so much outcry and frustration from Kentuckians about this regional system that Beshear is pushing. Notice this post from one Kentucky citizen, quote, "Another day on the phone with the Division of Driver's Licensing. Still no luck locating my application for renewal. At this point, I'm certain I'm a registered Democrat and some illegal has my license and credit card numbers. I'm not joking. I may need to show residency in another state to get a driver's license." And then I censor some things he says about Andy Beshear, which we shall not be repeating here. What that citizen is referring to there is that in the past few weeks, we have seen these centralized driver's license renewal systems. They've been having people take bribes where illegal aliens have been paying to get their driver's licenses and get them renewed, even though they're not supposed to get one at all. And sometimes I guess they're using legal citizens' information, and that's why they can't find this guys. So this is a huge problem. The Republicans are saying, hey, let's go back to letting each county do that. But Andy Beshear is saying, no, let's keep it in a centralized control system. So what are we going to do about this? Well, Kentucky State Representative Savannah Maddox has really been leading the charge to say, let's take this away from centralized and put it back to local county control. This will be a lot better for all the citizens of Kentucky. She actually proposed a bill this last session to do that. Didn't make it through, but boy, it looks like that needs to be done right away. I hope you will contact your state senator and representative up there in Frankfort and encourage them to support the bill from Representative Savannah Maddox to put local control back for all the driver's license renewal. Well, that's the news we have for this week. You might think that liberty is a spectator sport.
Good guess, but actually no.
Yes, that is correct. I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.